Hello and welcome to the Tyre Straights Podcast. This is the weekly Formula One and Motorsport podcast hosted by the Matt Damon and the Ben Affleck of the motorsports world, myself, Scobbert, and my co-host...
Doots. That was a very strange description, but I guess we'll roll with it.
I think nothing is more fitting. But yes, this is the weekly Formula One and Motorsport podcast that comes to you every Monday, reviewing every Formula One race of the 2026 season, and then in those little bitty gaps between, going over other things in the motorsports world. And yeah, it's been very hot today. It's been really hot today.
Absolutely roasting. I've turned into a puddle.
I've turned into a prune. It was 31 degrees down here, and I'm still sweating in my room, even though it's nearly 9.
It's very British of us to be complaining about weather, and it's just like, oh, it's a bit sunny, but it's so humid. I think that's what makes it so bad.
Dude, I'm too pasty for this. I'm too white.
It's so humid. There's no aircon, and there's nowhere to escape it besides, like, I don't know, the freezer aisle at Tesco.
I've actually got, like, a cooling scarf on right now, but
cooling scarf? Jeez.
Yeah, even that's, like, getting warm now.
Fair enough. I've just gone for an ice cold drink.
Yeah, I've got some water. I haven't got any ice, unfortunately, so I have just got some sort of room temperature water. But at this point, room temperature is still noticeably colder than everything else around me, so...
Yeah.
Anyway, I digress. Before we get too caught up in a side tangent, how are we this week? How are we?
Yeah, doing all right. It's been an interesting week for motorsport, both good and bad.
Indeed.
Interesting races, interesting performances, highs, lows, breakdowns, and crashes.
Yes, I mean...
And we should
absolutely.
Probably then.
I mean, we've got plenty to talk about this episode.
What are we talking about today?
Well, today, given that we are a Formula One podcast more than anything else, we will be focusing on the Canadian Grand Prix today. But of course, yesterday, well, we record on a Monday, so Sunday just gone, we were blessed with the biggest day in motorsports. Every year, this is the day. Typically, in the past few years, it's been the Monaco Grand Prix has been on that same Sunday. But every year, you know, we have a Formula One Grand Prix, the Indy 500, one of the 3 Triple Crown races in global motorsports, and then the NASCAR Coca-Cola 600, so which is the longest race on the NASCAR Cup Series calendar. So we've got a huge day of racing, 3 races back to back to back, all sort of squeezed in one after the other, and it was a fantastic day of racing, honestly. But before we get into that, we just have a few little bits of news to get into, and I don't want to drag the tone down too much, but it has been a mixed week for me, not only as a motorsports fan, but more specifically as a NASCAR fan, because we lost the legendary Kyle Busch, 2-time NASCAR Cup Series champion, one of the winningest drivers in the sport's history, with over 200 wins in all of the different NASCAR championships, you know, trucks, the Junior Series, and the Cup Series. And it was after a very sudden sort of illness. I won't get into the specifics, you know, just to be respectful, but just completely blindsided everyone. I mean, only the Sunday before he was winning truck races, and it's especially poignant that the last thing he said after that was, "You never know when the last win's going to be, so you got to cherish every one." And it's just been absolutely heartbreaking. You know, as a NASCAR fan, I won't pretend I was always a huge Kyle Busch fan. A lot of people sort of... he was basically this sort of, like, larger-than-life character. This sort of, like, you know, almost like a cartoonish heel. You know, he had this way of riling people up and getting people talking. And a lot of people can remember times that he got engaged in verbal or maybe even physical fisticuffs with their favourite driver. So he was always a polarising figure. But I've seen in, like, thousands, hundreds of thousands of tributes pouring out from all across the world for him. And even a lot of people are saying that they hated him back in the day when he was winning, especially when he was winning his cups. But they can appreciate that more, you know, now that he's gone. They appreciate how important it is to have that person to root against. because he was just that damn good. Having someone, that looks unbeatable makes it all the more special when someone else does win. So the world of racing really did lose one of its greatest stars, and the pair of us at the Tyre Straights podcast, we hold Kyle Busch and his family, his wife Samantha, and his children Brexton and Linux in our hearts. So sorry to bring the mood down, but absolutely necessary to do so in this event. But
definitely important.
Absolutely
to mention, though.
Yeah, and it's definitely sad. And there were some very beautiful tributes, especially before the Coke 600. There was a beautiful tribute before the race. So it's been bittersweet. Not only just, obviously the loss of Kyle Busch is huge, but to see just how many people have shown their appreciation and their support for him and his family in this trying time, it has been truly beautiful to see. So, yeah. What else has been happening though elsewhere?
All right. Moving on to the just general Formula One news. There hasn't really been much so far this week that's gone. It's been a lot of just people bringing upgrade packages towards this weekend, which we will talk a little bit about later. But there's been some rumors, and more so the shutting down and discussion of rumors by team principals from interviews and stuff like that. Laurent Mekies, who is team principal of Red Bull, kind of downplaying the Verstappen leaving rumors, but also Verstappen himself has been saying that it can't go on like this. He won't continue in the sport's current state, but has actually made no formal announcement about whether he is staying or going. There's been rumors of Oscar Piastri moving to Red Bull to fill in a potential gap caused by Max, which I think we discussed this in last episode.
I think in brief, yeah.
Yeah, where it wouldn't be, if there was going to be someone who would move teams at the top, Piastri wouldn't shock me. Either him or Leclerc would be the ones I'd expect to shuffle across to another team at the moment. And then the third one is, obviously, there's been lots of rumours about Ocon and him supposedly being fired mid-season. And the team principal, Aya Komatsu, for Haas, has come out to shoot down that there's any internal friction with Ocon. Obviously, they're not the most pleased with him in theory because of performances, but both the team principal and Ocon himself have come out saying there's been a lot of rumours spread and there hasn't actually been any major confrontation. Everything's still okay enough at the moment. So I think that even if they are going to replace Ocon, it's not going to be some big mid-season deal unless he suddenly starts crashing the car every weekend.
Yeah.
But I believe that's it. Unless there's anything you can think about.
Not really,
What
no.
are your thoughts on Piastri to Red Bull? Because I know we've discussed Verstappen leaving and Ocon leaving, but
if anyone was to leave a top team right now, my money would be firmly, I'd double down and put it all on Black. Black being Oscar Piastri. He's a guy that obviously he doesn't want to play second fiddle to anyone. He's proved that, and he's proved that there is no sort of, in spite of what the sort of McLaren hierarchy tries to push, there is no number one driver within McLaren, at least not officially, and he will definitely not accept being a number two driver. He wants to be the lead driver on a team. He wants to exert himself as being the lead driver on the team, and I think the best way he can do that is by going to another competitive team that he thinks he can more easily, be in that commanding role of.
I mean, yeah, the start, earlier parts of last season showed that Piastri, given the right car, does have that potential and that performance to be the leading driver of the team. And matched up with Hadjar, it wouldn't be too bad a combo.
I think, obviously, it would still be clear who the number one driver is there. Which is why I think a lot of people are saying Red Bull, with the opportunity being if Max did leave with an open seat, I think absolutely he would snap that up if he could.
I certainly think someone who is looking for an escape from a team that might not have the best best intentions for them at the moment would be a risk. So I'm thinking Russell Mercedes, I'm thinking Piastri McLaren, I'm thinking Leclerc Ferrari, any of those three. Probably less so George because of how good the Merc is at the moment.
Yeah. He might be getting bullied by a 19-year-old, but at least he's still in the fastest
Well,
car.
yeah, we'll talk about that later for sure. But I think that's everything for general news.
Absolutely. So now we'll move along to the Canadian Grand Prix. This was, of course, a sprint weekend, so we did have the sprint race on Saturday. Did you get to watch this? I couldn't watch the sprint because I was working, but I
had to watch on catch up. But yeah, so sprint weekend, the whole Canadian weekend, I'll say pretty good on the whole.
Yeah, I think
good return.
Preliminary
to form.
Thoughts.
I'm thinking it's got to be one of them. We discussed which race we think has been the best this season. I'm trying to think if it's been better than Miami. I
don't know. I think if it weren't for Russell's breakdown, and then there being not really much competition for Antonelli, I think it would be.
I would say if it. And no, I'd probably still say it was better than Miami.
I think if it is, it's marginal, but I think it would have been well in excess of Miami if there was still that silver battle all the way to the end.
Yeah. I think it's been the best race this season, but it would have been considerably better had it continued the way it was. So if we get started on the sprint, first and foremost, I'm not going to go over the full sprint quali information, but essentially Russell got pole, Antonelli joining him on the front row, and then behind him were the two McLarens, two Ferraris, two Red Bulls, step by step. It was pretty standard. The moments in the sprint, the main thing is the battling between Russell and Antonelli. This whole weekend, Russell has had the legs on Antonelli in quali pace. Antonelli has had the legs on Russell in race pace. But Russell's defense throughout this weekend has been phenomenal and has been keeping it as calm as possible. And this is probably the point where Kimi is undoubtedly fast, but you can see the cracks beginning to form in how that he's young. The main thing for this whole weekend from Kimi is while he has won the race, he's not won the race on merit, and it's all been absolute head loss. He's been complaining about everything. He's been locking up and doing ridiculous dives during the sprint. Yeah. What lost him second, and probably the sprint win, honestly, was going for a ridiculous lunge, locking up, going over the grass, and being overtaken by Norris. And and then getting so angry on the radio about it for essentially something that is his own fault. It's showing that he's got the pace, but he doesn't have the racecraft, he doesn't have the experience yet to truly string it all together.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a maturity thing, not just in the sort of traditional sense of, he's still a teenager, he's still growing, whatever you want to talk about in terms of puberty, shit like that. But as a racing driver, he's not quite matured yet. He's still, obviously, this is his second season in Formula One. He's still kind of easing himself in, and he's got the same sort of Lewis Hamilton 07-08 dilemma of straight away being thrust into the fastest or second fastest car, depending on what time of year. And he's having to then perform at a level, he's pushing himself beyond possibly where he feels comfortable right now, because he's having to, he's having to perform on a level that befits the fastest car. If his teammate is winning races and he's barely scraping top tens, then he'll be dropped within a season. So he's definitely got he's got the pace, like you said, and he has to prove it. That's the bottom line. I think he feels like he's got a lot more to prove than he might actually have, because otherwise he is, he's at what he would worry of being dropped.
Yeah, that's definitely the thing. He feels like he's young, he's energetic, he wants to prove that he's better than the guy's already there. The guy who has already got the experience, got his legs in with the organisation already. He wants to prove that he's already better and deserves the better treatment. And the thing is, he's got the pace, undoubtedly.
Absolutely.
It's just, it's like chinks in the armour. You can tell that he's got performance, but this was probably the first weekend, I would say, for Antonelli, and this covers the main race as well. First weekend for Antonelli where it didn't feel like he won because of his pace. It felt like he won because of either just pure mistakes or misfortune for George.
Yeah.
Like, it felt like if Russell had not had a technical failure there, that was his race to lose, for sure.
No, I wholeheartedly agree. It's definitely, like you said, chinks in the armor, I think is the best way of putting it. Because it's a very clear demonstration, like I said, of that sort of that gap in maturity between the two drivers. Sort of like you said in the sprint, Russell with his defense being very sort of calm, clean, and keeping his head screwed on, whereas Antonelli going for moves like that, it demonstrates someone who only did one full season in Formula 2, whereas obviously other drivers had more time, some had less, and some turned out, pretty good.
I'm pretty sure Russell only did 1 year.
I mean, Max didn't do any. Hamilton didn't
Max
do any.
No, I mean, but that's
Lewis
because I'm pretty sure
there were other junior formulas, but there wasn't it wasn't in the same way. But
you got to think. I'm pretty sure Max joined F1 before it was Formula 2. Like
it was still GP2, yeah.
It was still GP2 at the time.
But that's what I mean. It's like he still skipped it, yeah. Like it can, and I think it does show in sort of a young Max as well. There is that sort of slight hot-headedness, not only in the approach to racing, but the approach to the politics of the sport as well. So
yes, but you also don't need to be a prodigy to skip GP2 or a Formula 2.
No,
I mean,
absolutely
look
not.
At Lance
Absolutely not. No, absolutely not. You are right.
Yeah,
but that's kind of my point. It's just it shows that he hasn't quite got the same level of wheel experience at that sort of top level. When it comes to the upper side of things, when he goes wheel to wheel, it is a bit, buttock clenching, not for the right reasons.
For sure. But
yeah,
the only other notable thing from the sprint, I'll just say, it's tragedy again for Hadjar, having car issues, like just loss of power, I believe it was.
Unfortunate.
And then Lindblad managing to get a point, which is pretty good for him on the whole. Really.
Yeah, I think this has been obviously it was such a shame, and we'll get into it in a second very briefly. But Lindblad, obviously, until his DNS, great weekend,
brilliant,
fantastic weekend
for Lindblad. Yeah,
I can't help but feel so bad for him because obviously P8 in the sprint, he was P9 in sprint quali, sorry, and then he was lining up 9th in the main race as well. Only to then have his car go into neutral and not ever go back into another
restart.
Gear.
And then we had the weird start procedure, which I think, if we move on from the sprint, let's go to the main race. So quali, I didn't actually get to watch. Wasn't too interesting. I believe there's some relatively bad crashes from memory.
Yeah.
Or that might have been sprint quali. No, it was sprint quali that had some bad crashes.
Yeah, sprint
main quali
wasn't crazy lockups at certain points. Obviously,
yeah. I think it was Albon went slammed into the wall.
Yeah, Albon into Wall of Champions and Alonso locking up and
was it Wall of Champions?
I think it was Wall of Champions. I think that's why people made a big deal of it.
I'm not sure. I don't know. I just remember seeing the.
I might be entirely making that up. My brain's been too affected by the heat.
Regardless, quali, it was kind of similar for main quali. Russell on pole, Antonelli second, the McLaren's behind, and then you had a slight mix-up of the teams with Lindblad and Colapinto rounded up 9th and 10th for Q3, which was great. It was good to see them up there. Bit of a mix-up.
It's crazy to see Leclerc only 0.3 ahead of Lindblad.
Yeah, he had a woeful qualifying apparently.
Yeah, no, I didn't get to watch it either, but I can imagine.
yeah, but the main race then, if we go to the race, it was won by Antonelli. Podium was rounded up by Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen. It was good to see Max back on the podium for the first time this year.
Yes.
Leclerc holding on to 4th as the only driver not on the podium who wasn't lapped.
That's the craziest stat, I think, from the whole weekend.
Which is insane. Then Hadjar in 5th, Colapinto getting a career best in 6th after his last career best.
I
in Miami
I know. Look at him go. Look at him go.
He's climbing. He's doing bits. Lawson getting a good 7th. Good performance from him. Gasly in 8th. And then Carlos Sainz in 9th. And Behrman back scoring some points in 10th. Now, I think we should probably start with the biggest thing, which is that Merc battle.
Yeah.
Essentially, for the longest time, Russell had been running fantastically out front, defending Antonelli. The scrap was going back and forth.
It really was a scrap as well. Very scrappy.
It was an absolute scrap.
I can recall both cars like leaving the track at certain points. You know, there was Antonelli cutting turn 1 and being told to, return position. All sorts of things like that, that just, it really was, it sort of links on to what we said earlier about sort of Antonelli when it comes to the wheel-to-wheel battling skills. But it really was very scrappy.
I'd have to look closer. I'd have to look closer at like some of the actual wheel-to-wheel cameras for stuff like the ahead of the apex thing and the rules like that. But there was plenty of just occasion where they were close, they were fighting constant back and forth, where they'd pass on the straight heading into the final chicane and then repass into the first corner. And it was such a good watch, such tight racing.
Yeah.
And you know what? They managed to keep it pretty damn clean. There's so many times.
Aside from one time, they were going to the chicane, and it looked like on the TV that they had touched. And I was like, oh my god, they're taking each other out.
And it's like, the one time they touched, and it's like, okay, that's it, done. But no, they had like a couple of cutting corners or being pushed wides or stuff.
Yeah, a bit of that.
They're managing to keep it so clean. I was so expecting there to be a massive crash, but then all of a sudden, after such fantastic battling to watch, it was so good to watch, and then on lap 29, Russell's engine just dies.
Yeah,
it was a power unit failure, and so
he'd just been forced off of the track. He'd just been forced off the track, cut over the grass, and then just pulls it over and stops.
It wasn't even that. He hadn't even been forced off the track.
It looked like it when coming on the horizontal cam.
No, it looked like it, because I remember having the discussion with the people I was watching it with. Well, it's the grass has gotten into his.
That's what I thought
intake.
at first.
And it's like, no. If you watch on the replay, his engine completely cuts out on the straight.
Wow.
And he has to like cut the corner to avoid hitting anything on track. Like he's like lost all power, and so pulls into the side of the road, and in great anger throws his head and neck restraint onto the track. Which honestly,
I was about to mention this.
You cannot blame the guy.
No,
I mean you can, because he physically did it, but
it was an ignominious defeat for him, having obviously been in control of the race, having been the favourite to win the race. I mean, in our expert opinions, we both predicted that he would be the winner today, and we'll get into that. Well, not today, yesterday, and we'll get into that a bit later. But it was, as I say, just a completely unfortunate defeat and absolutely out of his own hands. So you could see where the stress was, and to think that he's now, much further back than he was before. Anthony gets another 25 points. He comes away with Nish. And that's not helping his efforts at a championship battle at all right now. It's a slow start to the season for George Russell.
It's a poor start. But then again, last time we had someone who had a poor start to the season, who was being beaten by his younger and less experienced teammate, they ended up winning the season.
Yeah, it's not. That's why I say it's not over yet. It's not Jova.
Listen, it's not over till it's over.
Exactly.
We've still got plenty of time, but it's so upsetting to see it's something completely out of Russell's control.
It is very harsh, though. It is very harsh. And obviously, he's not only got to then fight this back and make up that deficit now, but then he has to extend it himself afterwards. So what he really needs is for Antonelli to lose this form.
He needs Antonelli to fumble, and unfortunately, the thing is that Antonelli is not... he's making mistakes in his wheel-to-wheel combat, but because the car is so good, if he is out of the way of Russell, he's got no competition at the moment. His only competition is reliability, and it seems to have just struck George this time, just deeply unfortunate.
Do you want to know what's just occurred to me as well? It's a statistic I mentioned earlier this year, after his last win, but Antonelli now has double the wins in a row than Russell has podiums in a row all time. Antonelli has won for his first 4 races in a row. Meanwhile, George Russell's longest podium streak was only 2.
That is insane.
Yeah.
And then again, I mean,
it's crazy.
Antonelli also is now the only driver ever to win his first 4 races in a row.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is wild. But I do think that regardless of how good George can try and pull it back this season, and that this wasn't George's fault, you can't deny that Antonelli has pace, and he's definitely gonna. If he doesn't get a championship this year, I think that he's 100% gonna be charging forward in years to come.
Yeah,
this is.
I mean, if the picture that's being painted in this very present moment right now is anything to go off of, if he isn't championship this year, it's because he got slimed out by George.
I think it's going to be a shootout between George, unless McLaren somehow manage to develop a car more, or Ferrari somehow start picking up the pieces.
If McLaren actually does a decent fucking strategy,
we'll discuss that. We'll discuss that. But if other teams start catching up or picking up the pieces from Merc fighting within themselves, I think that it could very easily go to George or Antonelli, and it's such a tight battle. And if they continue this form next year, it very well could be Antonelli again next year, or for the first time next year. I think that's a man who will get a championship regardless, no matter what.
In my mind, it's not even like a question. It's a certainty.
That's a talent. He's gonna be your next Verstappen, your next Vettel, your next
Hamilton. Yeah, he's currently on this current trajectory. He's on course to do the same thing Hamilton did. He didn't come quite as close as obviously Hamilton did in his rookie season, but obviously in his sophomore season, he puts in the performance, takes the championship.
You've also got to remember, though, is a similar person who had a fantastic first year, championship in the second year, and then did nothing for the rest of their career. It was Jacques Villeneuve.
Yeah, I mean, Villeneuve just had a career going in reverse.
He was
almost as good as prime Damon Hill, and more often, not more often than not, but still was able to get the better of Damon in several of the battles.
Yeah.
Not quite enough of them, but
In the words of some wise people, I've heard people that say they want to be Hamilton, they want to be Schumacher, they want to be Vettel, they want to be Verstappen. I never hear someone in my life say they want to be Jacques Villeneuve, dusty ass driver.
I mean, nobody wants to get signed to Renault only to get, when Renault were good, only to get dropped because he's nowhere near the pace of Renault's actual driver. He also just he was almost as bad as Alonso when it came to actually signing for teams.
Yeah,
I mean, he went to BAR for 2 seasons, and then was dropped after another season, only for the BAR car to be good that season.
Yeah, he definitely had some very poor luck with picking his teams, but
he did most of it to himself.
Yeah, regardless. Back to the actual race weekend.
Yeah, sorry, talk about the Canadian Grand Prix rather than a Canadian Grand Prix driver.
But the Merc battle was good. It's a shame it didn't continue, but it's promising for the rest of the season. If they can give us that performance week in, week out, I will be glued to my seat. That will be fantastic.
Absolutely.
Speaking we mentioned McLaren earlier. We're going to talk about now what the actual fuck they were trying to do with their strategy. So, a quick little recap if you hadn't been watching. Earlier, there was the F2 race before the Grand Prix, and it was quite rainy. There's mixed conditions, and it means that there was a lot of crashes, a lot of chaos, all sorts of stuff like that. But between that and the F1 race, there'd been a fair bit of rain. And the track was a bit damp, but there was no rain nearby, and it wasn't forecast, and the track was drying, and had already been drying. And for whatever reason, McLaren and a couple of the other teams had put their drivers on inters. And it's not the worst thing, but also both the drivers had stated, or at least one of the drivers had stated, that being Piastri, this is the wrong tyre to be on.
Yeah, on the formation lap, he was literally saying he felt like the tyres were just like not right at all.
Yeah. And so you've already got initially this problem of the drivers are realising the inters are wrong. And then they do the formation lap, and they do start a second one, and there's a possibility that they can do a third one. And so they didn't dive into the pits to change it. They just left it for the start. And so McLaren actually got a fantastic start to the race. Absolutely flew ahead, shockingly.
Yeah, Norris took P1 on the first corner.
Yeah, made brilliant pace off the bat because of the inters. And then, about 3 laps in, maybe a couple laps in, they needed to instantly dive into the pits.
Yeah.
To change, because the inters just couldn't last.
I think from memory it was Norris on lap 3 and then Piastri on lap 4.
I thought Piastri did it first. I'm pretty sure Piastri just went 2 laps and dived in, and then Norris followed shortly after.
No, I think it was Piastri after, because I remember reacting to Norris, but then actually seeing the box message come up for Piastri.
Who knows? Regardless, they both dived in and changed over to slicks, and it meant that they are now instantly deep into the pack, and so need to climb forward and through. And I mean, it was actually okay for Norris. He was actually climbing. Piastri, not so much. Kind of been completely disadvantaged. And because of the huge gaps that had formed in the grid, it kind of made it hard to close up.
Yeah.
So, not the best. And especially with Piastri then causing a collision with Albon and needing to serve a 10-second penalty.
I was about to get onto that. Committing an actual murder.
Yeah, we'll get onto that shortly afterwards. But 10-second penalty, just a massive gap. And I got to wonder, what on earth were McLaren thinking? Genuinely, there was it's a slightly damp track. It's not there's no rain nearby. All the other teams have gone for pretty much all the other teams have gone for slicks.
Soft tyres for most teams on the start as well.
Yeah, it was softs or mediums for most people. It was just a poor choice.
It was.
And I just don't understand it. I really just don't get it. But I mean, regardless, it led to Piastri being out of the points, and
Norris suffered a gearbox failure.
Norris had a gearbox failure.
He was making his way through the pack, but
he would have been in the points. I think Norris would have climbed up a bit, but I don't think he would have been anywhere near. He might have been able to get 5th based on his pace, but then gearbox failure. So
I think that's a little bit generous, possibly. I think easily the latter half of the top, or the top 10. 6th down to 10th, I think. But I think
it's I remember
a little bit far.
By the time he'd climbed up and before his gearbox issues, he was 8th or something like that. So I was thinking he can maybe climb a bit more.
I think he would have been sort of around that area, like 6th to 8th kind of territory.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, but no. We did mention a moment ago about Piastri actually sliming out Alex Albon. But that wasn't the only incident at all. There were quite a few moments like that. Obviously, we sort of mentioned the very scrappy battle between the Mercs. Both of the Mercs at different points across the race were going off the track. You had people pushing each other wide through the chicane before the straight, and then the other driver having to cut across and then rejoin in front. It was just a lot of that. I mean, the Piastri one is the one that really sticks in my mind when talking about it. Because that collision, it was just a plain dive bomb. You had Albon already turning for the corner, already turned into the corner. He was basically across the front of Piastri's car, forming a T. and and Piastri's still just like charging in. Like,
yeah, no, it
bro
almost looked like
did not learn the 50-50 rule.
it looked like frustration. Like it looked like an error made in
More
frustration.
desperation.
Yeah. I mean, similar kind of thing. I was thinking more of it's okay. I've lost a bunch of spots due to my team's fuck-ass strategy. Now I've got to try and pull it back, and just took a lunge that he probably shouldn't have and crashed into the side. But it's definitely completely unfair to Albon. Like,
no, absolutely. He was running pretty decently as well, considering that Williams has not been the best this season so far. So from what we know of the Williams car, he was doing all right. He
was running okay. I wouldn't particularly say he was running well. No, he was definitely running worse than his teammate, but
yeah,
he was running okay.
Sainz had a pretty good weekend, actually, overall.
Yeah, getting a couple of points, not bad.
Yeah, considering he started 15th and finished 9th.
Yeah.
I mean, there were obviously a lot of DNFs that probably contributed towards that ascension through into the points, but still a good race for him.
It's not a bad one at all. You know, he's done well in the Williams, kind of just carried on through.
Yeah.
Points in the end, kept it clean. What more can you want from a weekend, realistically, when you're a lower midfield team at the moment? But no, lots of instances. There was a lot of like yellow flag. There was There was some. I mean,
we had several cars retiring. Obviously, you had Norris's, you had Russell's, you had Alonso's.
There was cars retiring, but there was also like weird bits of debris on the track from when Perez retired.
Yeah.
Like, when his suspension snapped going into the pits, and you had the guy that dived back through the little hole at the side. It was so good. It was brilliant to watch. He was clearly having a good bit of fun.
It was a very unfortunate weekend for Fernando Alonso, all things considered. He had a lock-up in sprint qualifying, which sent him out when he had made it into Q2, or SQ2, I should say. Which he caused him to crash. And I mean, Martin Brundle was like, you should have taken the escape road, but Martin Brundle was a racing driver. He should know that a lockup does kind of contribute to a lack of control for the driver. So he was a bit of a passenger to that, unfortunately. But then comes the sprint race, and okay, maybe he can just about make this up. Nope, engine gives up. And then qualifying, he qualifies 19th. Only to then retire again with a problem with the seat this time, actually. Yeah. But it just, oh man, I don't know how I've supported this man for so many years. It's not done good for my mental health.
Yeah, there's been lots of issues with like performance and reliability this weekend. I'm pretty sure it's like there were 5 people that either didn't start or didn't finish the race because of
6 that didn't, including the DNS.
Oh yeah, no, I was saying that didn't start or finish the race because of mechanical issues.
Oh right, Albon, not Albon. Albon not included. Yeah, no, you're right.
The mechanical issue for Albon was Piastri. Like,
I mean, I'm sure it was a mechanical issue. It just wasn't caused by. It wasn't caused by internal factors.
It was caused by an errant McLaren in the side of the Williams.
He got to smell the papaya.
Yeah, one I definitely want to talk about though is just how many penalties Hadjar got, and it was for such stupid stuff. I think that he's had this is his best drive, quote unquote. It's so hard to really judge because on paper this is the best performance he's put in.
Yeah, since signing for our Red Bull. This is the best he's done.
Since Australia, where he had an amazing qualifying and was doing great, and then his car detonated.
Yeah,
it was the fact that he could he qualified decently, held it well. The McLaren's misfortune definitely helped him a bit, but it's also the fact that he got into a stupid double moving penalty with Charles Leclerc. He had what was it he got a stop and go for? There was, because he had a 10-second time penalty, and then he had a 10-second stop and go where he had to come in. And I don't remember what the stop and go was for. I think it was a yellow flag infringement.
I think so. I think there were so many yellows. It's kind of hard to tell which one one was for.
So many stupid yellows as well, as I was mentioning earlier.
Yeah, with just debris and stuff on track.
There was one yellow that just happened very briefly, and it caught out a couple of people for investigation, but we never found out what it was.
Yeah.
And I don't know. And that definitely leads into this next point, which is the TV direction.
Oh, it's never been good.
My God, it's never been good, but this is a new low. Like the TV direction for this weekend has been absolutely dreadful. When there are actual interesting battles and overtakes happening, they're just showing us the two Mercs going around one behind the other and nothing happening.
Yeah.
And then when they swap away to look at some other cars not doing anything, all of a sudden, when the Mercs are doing something, they don't swap back.
Yeah,
it's
really not going to appease the artificial racing quote-unquote crowd.
Well, they just show us the aftermath.
Yeah, because we're not actually seeing any of the actual racing.
Yeah, and we see a yellow flag pop up, and we don't get shown what it is. Not even in a mini box for a lot of the time. It's just like yellow flag on track. You can hear the commentators being like, it's because of something. Maybe this has happened. Oh, this person stopped moving. Oh, X, Y, Z. And it takes forever to show what happens, or doesn't at all.
Yeah.
And the absolute peak of this problem was that when the Piastri-Albon collision happened, we didn't see it. It did not happen. We did not see it.
No, we only saw it in the replay. No, you're right.
Reasonable. Well, we saw it in the replay a couple laps later in a tiny little side box that was partially covered by the yellow flag graphic, so you couldn't see the full collision.
Yeah.
And then, when do they decide to show the full screen replay? 40 laps later. 40. Pretty much the whole race has happened. And suddenly like all these crazy things have happened. This is after 2 more cars have just retired. And all of a sudden, you are now showing us what happened between Piastri and Albon. When Albon has been out of the race for 40 laps, Piastri has already gone in and served his penalty for that incident at that point, I believe.
Yeah.
There's no reason.
The drama of the whole event has already passed and, subsided.
Yeah. It's like, it's the most ridiculous thing. Because you can so easily, and I understand showing it in a mini box is fine if it was put in the correct position. That's stupid. Stupid that they've done it, and as such, they should probably go back and do a full screen replay, or at least another side box replay where it's done better. What they shouldn't do is leave it for 40 laps.
Yeah.
Because at that point, it's not on everyone's minds. Everyone's thinking about what's currently going on.
It is crazy. It is crazy.
It's insane how poor it has been as of late.
A lot has been made about the F1 TV direction for a little while now. Like the last few years, a lot of people have had gripes with it. I've seen a lot of comments where it's like, it's F1 showing like replays of other races that have happened. And like comments just saying inaccurate. We haven't had a shot of a driver's girlfriend in 30 seconds. And it's just like the F1 TV direction, like I say, a few years now, it has just been like deplorable. And we look at other racing series where we actually get to see, even if we can't see it on the main camera in the moment, the replay is almost instantaneous and from multiple angles as well. It's crazy that like the levels are, F1's supposed to be the top flight of motorsports. It's meant to be the greatest racing series on earth. And yet I feel like it's part of this existing push towards the quote unquote spectacle rather than the actual racing. And it is just like a whole problem with F1, let alone with the TV direction,
Yeah. It's definitely just a change in demographic and a change in management and all sorts of changes throughout the system. It's just making things so much more tedious. Like the TV I never remember the TV direction being this bad in all the time I've been watching Formula One.
It was especially bad in Canada.
It's been particularly bad this weekend.
But yeah, only sort of one last thing to cover when it comes to the race itself.
It's kind of just the start, yeah.
Yeah, and that was Arvid Lindblad. Like we said a minute ago before we got into this, like he was having, until that point, a great weekend. He did really well in sprint quali, did really well in the sprint race, he got himself a point. And then in quali for the main race, he put himself in ninth, was there to start in ninth, but unfortunately he did not start the race because his gearbox decided to fail, which is a tragedy because, like we said, he was on for a really good race with that trajectory at least. It's sad. But obviously, it's not the race start was all kinds of curse because there was a false start, like a failed start, and then the lights stayed on too long. Everything went wrong. Second formation lap back to the grid. You had the Mercs like edging forwards because they thought the lights were about to go, and then nothing. So you had the caution lights on their cars come on because they were out of place. I'm pretty sure it was because was it Max missed his grid box?
I don't know about the second one.
The first one,
but oh no, the first one was because I'm pretty sure it's that Lindblad was waving to signal that he couldn't get his car in gear.
Oh right, okay.
So, and it was like he knew it was going to be a hazard.
I know after seeing one of them that there was just a car that was way out of like grid spot.
That might have been the second one, but the first one was because Lindblad's gearbox just wasn't functioning.
All right.
And so they were like, okay, do another lap, and then they need to push his car off the grid while they do the second lap. But yeah, I mean, first, it's a shame because it was the first actually promising weekend he's had since Australia. It's kind of been a bit nowhere since then, but the RB's not been the greatest. But Liam Lawson has also been kind of pulling in some decent results. But still, an extra point. You know, point on the board is 14th in the championship, which for a rookie could be worse.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you know, not a bad weekend at all. I also want to talk for not a bad weekend about Colapinto again, because my God, Alpine with a new engine in that car, they have been born again.
I was about to say they're like a reborn team. It's crazy.
Like, yeah. Colapinto off the back of Miami has had his best result of the 7th, and I was like, okay, you know, that's good, but there's no way he's going to be able to perform again, and he did. Like,
the humble Franco Colapinto
enters the chat. But both in sprint and quali, and the main race, like he's delivered. Obviously, main race he would have fallen behind. I'm not sure whether he would have overtaken Lindblad or not. What are your thoughts on that? Because he qualified behind Lindblad. But...
I think with his race pace, I think he would have done. Because Colapinto, he was on. Like, he was really on it. I think in the race, he was very impressive. You know, he only got lapped in, like, the last few laps. From what I recall.
I don't remember off the top of my head, but possibly.
Either way, he had some really great pace, you know.
Yeah, he was only one of the people that was one lap down, so...
He had some really great pace this in the race. I think he would have finished ahead. I still think, obviously, Lindblad would have finished, you know, 7th or whatever.
Like, 7th, yeah, behind him.
But I think Colapinto would have been ahead in the actual race. Great result for him.
That's fair. Yeah, no, it's a brilliant result from him. And Alpine in general, I mean, Gasly climbing up.
Yeah.
From 14th to take 8th. Not bad. You know, more points on the board. He now claims a spot over Behrman as the best of the rest. 20 points, which I'm pretty sure that is now more than Alpine scored in entirety last year.
Very likely.
I'd have to check real quick, but I'm pretty sure that it was roughly about that. But they've reclaimed their spot with that new Merc engine. Like they are cooking.
They are back.
They are back. It seems.
It's great to see. But that sort of takes us rather neatly to the end of the Canadian Grand Prix. Do you have any sort of like concluding remarks, thoughts, anything like that?
My concluding remarks, essentially, this has easily been the best race of the season so far. The Silver War Part 2 is on. It's the return of the battle between the Mercs. I'm very interested to see how it plays out. And I think that Antonelli could be quite challenging if he doesn't start fumbling it. But realistically, that happened with him last season, is he had a very similar season to Piastri, where he starts really strong, then begins to fall off into the centre section of races, and then picks up towards the end. But we'll just have to see. Just have to see how he does.
Well, I mean, with all that said and done, sort of wrap it up with a nice little neat bow on it. That takes us to the end of the Canadian Grand Prix, but we do have one last thing to discuss on that front, and it's that every episode, the week before or the week of a Formula One Grand Prix, we will always make predictions ahead of that Grand Prix. And last week's episode was no different. We both put in 4 predictions each for what was going to happen in the Canadian Grand Prix. And now it's time for us to review them. So we have 4 categories. We have the race winner, which is who we predict is going to win the race. Go figure. Then there is the race binner. That's someone who we suspect is going to have a bad weekend, whether it be their fault or the fault of someone else, or maybe even just qualifying being really, really bad and then not being able to really make up for it in the race. It's a little bit, subjective, but it's relatively consistent. Then we have flop of the tops. This is someone from a top team that we think is going to have a bad weekend for whatever reason, sort of similar vein to race binner, but focusing more on the top 4 teams. And then we come to the last one, which is the wildcard prediction. And this is basically something that isn't following any specific structure, but is still something that is, not outside of the realms of possibility. It's not suggesting that, a 23rd driver is going to join the Grand Prix and win out of nowhere. So it's stuff like that. Doots, why don't you kick us off with your race winner prediction?
Well, yeah. So this week has been a bit of an interesting one. So
this has been a very tough pill to swallow.
Yeah, my race winner was George Russell.
Hmm.
And what happened to him? Well, his car shut down at the side of the road. The ops got... Oh, God.
He got slimed.
His engine shut down. It's like...
Before you get too deep into it, I too predicted for race winner that George Russell would be on the top step. So we are both equally in the mud on that one.
Yeah. Yeah, and then speaking of in the mud, onto the race binner, where I went for Franco Colapinto getting his best result of the season. So that's no point for me.
Really the opposite of a race binning. And meanwhile,
Indeed.
I did the exact same thing because I put Liam Lawson, who only finished just behind him. So, once again...
And seventh in a V car, but that's nothing to scoff at.
No, that's actually a really good result.
Yeah.
So,
it's
as I said earlier, an ignominious defeat for Russell. It's an ignominious defeat for us so far, halfway into the predictions, and it takes us to flop of the tops. Who did you put as flopping at the top?
Well, this is where I could have actually got something. I went for Hadjar because I thought that just around Canada something was going to happen. Some stupid collision or issue was going to throw him into the wall. And yet somehow, despite not even keeping it clean, he managed to get P5, a good points haul for the team, and his best scoring position with Red Bull. So I can't, as much as he did have over 20 seconds worth of penalty time over the full race, I can't say he was the flop of the tops, and definitely not the worst of the top team drivers.
No, but I mean, it gets worse. Because I, for flop of the tops, suggested that it would be, in fact, 4-time world champion Max Verstappen. To my credit, I was coming off of the fact that his performance in Miami was certainly not fantastic. When you think of the opening laps, when obviously got a bit aggressive, had that spin. I was going off of that version of Max Verstappen, but unfortunately we got 2021 Max Verstappen and Absolute Cinema instead. So I was in fact the one who flopped.
His first podium in this season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But to round it out, the wild card.
Well, I went for Cadillac will get their first points.
Did they bollocks?
And you want to know how wrong I was? Sergio Perez's suspension snapped on its own, and Valtteri Bottas was 4 laps down from the leader at the end of the race.
Don't worry, though, he was joined by Lance Stroll. But great company there.
Great company, I'm sure.
So currently, you have no points this round of predictions, but I've gone through 3, which I've equally not got any points for. but can I save it with the wildcard prediction? Can I fuck? I suggested that there was going to be a safety car that would cause some sort of strategy error, whether it be someone, has pit the lap before the safety car, has obviously lost track position, and now everyone else is getting a free pit stop, or alternatively, someone causes a safety car, which then means they have to change their strategy. It was really kind of a little bit ambiguous just regarding the safety car and strategy. Regardless of that, it still didn't bloody happen, so that's me.
Kind of did nothing.
Yeah, that's me also not getting any points for this round of predictions.
Yeah, so, I don't even know if it was there was an actual full safety car. I'm pretty sure it's just VSC the whole time.
I'm pretty sure, yeah. It's just it is a overwhelmingly disappointing weekend for us.
Yeah. Which it leaves the score identical to how it was before. It is still 5 to me, 5.5 to Scobbert.
3.5.
3.5, sorry. Yeah, 3.5. Oh my god.
Otherwise I'd be way ahead. Yes, can I keep them, please?
No.
But these are all
predictions.
These are all important points, because at the end of the season, whichever of the two of us gets the most points will receive some sort of special prize from the other. So that's not great. But
it's not going well so far.
That is the Canadian Grand Prix. And before we close the show, obviously at the beginning we mentioned how yesterday was the biggest day in motorsports. And of course, we had to go over that.
I'd like to quickly cut in while we're doing the other series discussion, because I have forgotten to mention it, but I did briefly reference it earlier. It has been a big weekend for motorsports in the other series for NASCAR and IndyCar, but I also want to mention F2, because I feel like it's a little bit more tangentially related. And I meant to mention it during the actual
I think I know what you're going to go for here, so by all means.
No, I don't know what I'm going to go for in the slightest. I'm just more mentioning that F2 has happened.
Oh,
and
I thought you were talking about... No, okay. Never mind.
No, what were you talking about?
I thought there was like a yellow that was caused by contact, wasn't it?
Maybe.
I thought that was what it was.
Oh no! I was more talking. There was plenty of it. The feature race was very chaotic with lots of crashing and lots of issues.
I thought you were talking about one of those.
That's fair.
Okay, well, yeah, it was the biggest week. It was the biggest day in racing, and it obviously started with the Indy 500. But I'll let you discuss that, because it ended with the Coca-Cola 600. This is the...
I haven't even finished doing the Formula 2 yet.
Oh, well, you hurry up. Get your point across. Get your point across.
Right. I was just going to say...
Fucking hurry up.
Shut up. Formula 2 has happened. And it's the first time I'm coming to Montreal. They're doing it as a fill-in weekend to make up for the lack of there being a Jeddah and a... Bahrain. Usually they do the rounds there. They've done Miami and Montreal this time. Good to see they've done some fill-ins. Sprint race and feature race. Sprint race was won by Noel Leon from pole or reverse pole. Pretty uninteresting race on the whole. But we got Stenshorn getting his first podium of the season, which is very good. And that then carried him forth. Also, good points from Van Hopen, or however you pronounce it. And Bogdanovic getting a 6th, not bad. Fittipaldi Jr. as well, getting some good sprint points. And Belinsky getting his 2nd point of the season, all the way down in 20th. And then the main feature race, its conditions led to an awful lot of chaos, lots of people jumping up and down the grid. Van Hopen from pole ended up retiring. And in the end, after all the chaos happened, people jumping up and down, Colton Herta was leading at one point. Like, it was a ridiculous bit of nonsense. And we ended up with Martinus Stenshorn finishing first, claiming his first win, followed up by Alex Dunn in 2nd, Gabriele Mini in 3rd, and then 4th for Sebastian Montoya. And I just wanted to say 5th for Kian Shields. How has this happened? This man should never have touched a car. How? That is all you can
So
continue.
the Coca-Cola 600 is the longest race on the NASCAR Cup Series calendar, and it was won by Daniel Suarez of Spire Motorsports after the race was ended 27 laps before the scheduled 400 due to rain coming in. And just before the race started, there was, I did mention earlier, there was a beautiful tribute, both for Memorial Day, which is a national holiday in the United States, where they honour the fallen servicemen of their military, and also, of course, for the late great Kyle Busch. Then, of course, the race started, and it became pretty apparent immediately that the Toyotas, especially those belonging to Hamlin, Bell, and Gibbs, were very strong. I mean, Joe Gibbs Racing, just very strong team all in all, for the most of the evening, which made the result a little bit surprising, obviously, with Suarez taking the win. And, whether or not it's seen as quote-unquote gifted or not, Suarez did make several unscheduled pit stops and held off the Toyotas. To be fair, Hamlin and Christopher Bell were fighting one another behind him for second. So while they were jockeying for position, Suarez was able to maintain the lead. And then, of course, when the race was called, he came out as the victor. But aside from that, the only real other thing I wanted to mention, because I haven't seen a lot of major outlets reporting it, at least not in the same capacity that they do other results, but Catherine Legg, I want to mention, because she is one of few drivers in history to have attempted the double, which is basically competing in the Indy 500 and the Coca-Cola 600 in the same day, and that is 1,100 miles being driven within one day, and that includes flying from Charlotte to Indianapolis. Yeah, sorry, I completely went blank there.
No, that's fine.
So it's always been viewed as this very arduous thing. There was a lot made of it when Tony Stewart attempted it like decades ago. So it is a big thing to do the double, and unfortunately she wasn't able to complete the double, having her Indy 500 effort ended on lap 17 when she, to her credit, not her fault, she was attempting to avoid a crash that happened immediately in front of her, and as she sort of tried to get round, she unfortunately slammed into, she lost the grip of the rear, slammed into the inside wall, and then had to retire. Meanwhile, the Coca-Cola 600, she in fact did complete, in spite of a significant mechanical issue with the front right wheel, which dropped her down by 12 laps, but she was still racing by the end of it. The team made a fantastic effort at putting the car back together, and it was a fantastic effort from her. She is the fastest female Indy 500 qualifier in history, and a real genuine inspiration for all women in motorsports. So very, good to see. And in terms of NASCAR, NASCAR is back again on Monday next week for the Cracker Barrel 400 at Nashville. So do be sure to tune in for that. But I'll let you go over the other big one of the day.
Yeah, that's fine. So the other massive one was the Indy 500, obviously, big thing every year. And this year it was sensational. The ending.
Amazing.
Absolutely fantastic to watch. You had really close. It was a Polo on pole, led out front. There's plenty of big crashes going on. Obviously, you had Catherine Legg crashing with Ryan Hunter-Reay on about lap 17.
Lap 17, yeah.
But brilliant race that was ended up being won by Felix Rosenqvist after it was on lap with 7 or 8 laps to go. There was a crash with the rookie Kyle Collette, who had a fantastic race as well. He was up nearly leading at one point. But rookie season in IndyCar, it's fantastic performance, but it ended with a bad crash that led to a red flag, meaning they had a final 7-lap shootout for the win, which ended up being taken. It was so tight. Malukas took the jump at the start and led all the way through. And then on that final lap, just going over the line, Felix Rosenqvist came alongside, took the win from him with the closest finish in Indy 500 since 1992. And I think it might have even been the closest ever. But
it's the closest in history, I'm pretty sure.
It's the closest in history.
Not 2.3, so 130, 230th of a second.
Yeah.
So
It's
incredible.
like a ridiculously small margin, and it was such a shame for Malukas. You could see how like much it affected him losing out that small. It was devastating because that would have also been his rookie IndyCar win.
Absolutely.
So being able to claim that like at the Brickyard, that would have been fantastic.
He'll win it. He will.
He'll definitely be getting a win. Malukas has the talent.
He's got the talent, exactly.
It's just such a shame, but also. Absolute props to Rosenqvist. He drove fantastically.
No, he did. Definitely a deserved win. Exactly. Yeah. One thing I did want to mention regarding the Indy 500 after it finished, however, something that I've seen quite a bit of discourse about lately was the car of Alex Palou. It failed the post-race technical inspection, yet he hasn't been disqualified. He's only been fined. So it seems a bit crazy because I tried to watch the Indy 500 last year, but I swear there was a similar instance where cars failed the technical inspection and were in fact disqualified, and a lot of people are now calling out IndyCar for what they view as blatant favoritism, because obviously Palou is the kind of face of IndyCar at the moment, being the reigning champion, being the most successful driver in the current sport, championship leader, exactly. For him to not get disqualified for something that not only has disqualified people in the past, but people have been disqualified for much less than, has caused people online to get a bit rustled. So we'll have to see if anything changes on that. I really don't suspect it will, but definitely, I've got to say, a little bit shady, to be honest.
It's definitely the tiniest bit dodgy because Palou is a big name, but it's also how big of an issue it was.
Yeah.
Is the other thing, like how much of a failure of the inspection it was. I can understand people's distaste with it, especially considering I'm pretty sure they disqualified Marco Andretti for it.
Yeah, that's who I saw a lot of people bringing up, like as a sort of like case in point kind of thing.
Yeah, it was something like that, and they that might have been for qualifying. But regardless, it's the fact that it was just the Andretti teams.
Yeah,
like they disqualified Kirkwood and Ericsson. I remember
that was it. Yeah, no, you're right. You're right.
I don't know.
I'll say it was signed to Andretti. No, you're right.
But regardless, it's the fact that he's kind of only gotten away with a 5-point drop in the championship standing, and a $10,000 fine, which is kind of nothing considering, like what Alex Palou is currently leading the championship by a good margin.
Yeah,
so it
does not dent on him. Yeah, exactly. So it's a little bit of a sort of sour taste after such a great race, But obviously, it could be the deciding factor in the championship. For all we know, it may become a huge point of conversation later in the year after IndyCar wraps up. So we don't know. We'll have to see.
I'm trying to think. It's like the gap between him and Malukas in second is pretty. It's not big, but it's not like a small margin. It's like 37 points difference. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that someone could say that this is like it will be a big problem. Like if Malukas closes up and loses it by those 5 points, there will be riots. Or like loses it by just a tiny smidge. It'd be like he should have been disqualified.
Yeah, I think so. So we'll see. We'll see. That's we'll end it on that, much as the Indy 500 has been ended on that. There is no Formula One Grand Prix next weekend. Well, this weekend as of when we record. So it is not an episode where we will be covering the Monaco Grand Prix, but we will still be covering the Monaco Grand Prix. Basically, next week we're going to take a look at the history of the Monaco Grand Prix, the significance of it as a race, some of the best sort of moments from Monaco Grand Prix history, as well as a few other bits that we're likely to sort of add on. So there's plenty to discuss there, and please do tune in next week for that. But if you have enjoyed this week's episode, please follow/subscribe on all platforms, whether that be YouTube, Spotify, Instagram at Tyre Straights Podcast, or the same on Twitter. So your support is what allows us to do this. I'm saying this as if we're making money from it. We're not. We do this for the love of the game. But your support is what makes us want to keep doing this. So
it's appreciated. Your support is very much appreciated.
Exactly. So please do give us money. And do you have any extra bits to tack on to that?
No, it's kind of just thank you so much for listening if you made it all the way through. Just follow us on social.
Fantastic. Okay, yes. Give us money.
If you want to interact with us, then absolutely go for it. We're small enough that we can answer any questions or any hot takes or whatnot about races. And we put out a little, it's like a little question box on the Instagram story every week for the races, or every race week for questions about the races. We might start doing it for more things, for like certain other episodes that aren't race related, but still, we would
love your input on certain things, and we want you to help us shape the Tyre Straights empire as it forms. So we've got plenty to look forward to there, but with all that in mind, it's yet to come. So until then, it is goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.